हमें बहक जाने की आदत है। अमन्तु बिल्लाहि व मलाइकति व कुतुबिही व रसूलिही वल यौमिल आखिर।
Assalamu alaikum, Galwina. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much pleasure to be here tonight. I'd like to welcome and in fact acknowledge before that all the key officials, the President of FANCA, the President of the Fiji Muslim League, our ulama of course, the alims who are here with us, the President of the Fiji Football Association, the Acting President of the Fiji Muslim League, all the other speakers before us who spoke. You know, they say that when wise people speak before you, there's not much to say thereafter. So my speech will be extremely short. I would disagree with the very brief historical analysis of how we came here and when we came here and how we got here or the reasons for us being here. As you know that when the girmit system started, the indenture system, it was something that was what we call a refined version of slavery. Slavery had been abolished. There was a movement for abolishment. Yet free or cheap labor was necessary to run all the colonial states, in particular in the British Empire. And so therefore they came up with what they call the indenture system. In the indenture system there was supposed to be an agreement between the employer and the employee. Many of the people who were employees could not use the word agreement, so they said girmit. In the same way, kantar is kento. Martin Tar is named after Martin, who had a fence, Martin Tar, Martin Ketar. And Martin Ketar became Martin Tar. That's how these names came about. So, of course, when they were brought across, they all recently, in the celebrations that I mentioned, there are 3 Ds that actually took place: deceit, disease, and death. Many people were put on the ships through deceit. They were told, you're going to the land of milk and honey, it's just around the corner. It wasn't. Many months later, they landed somewhere where they were very badly ill-treated. Women were raped, men and women were whipped. They had to wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning. If they felt you did not work hard enough, you did not get paid. If you wanted to go back at the end of the 5 years, most of them could not afford to go back, so you had to work for another 5 years and they would pay you passage back. There were over 60,000 people imported between the period of 14th May 1879 to 1916. That is the historical basis for why many of your descendants or how they came to Fiji. Of course, it was British India at that time. It was not India, it was British India. British India, of course, was from the eastern borders of Iran to the western borders of Myanmar or what we call Burma, which includes, of course, today Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. Your presence here today, of course, is bound by the fact that you are, or you were born here, or your parents were born in Fiji. Fiji is the connection that you have. If I take the F out of FANCA, it would be Anchor. Not a very good acronym. But that's what binds you. And that's the whole reason, even if you may be having your tournaments in Canada or USA, Australia, and New Zealand, if you do not have Fiji, you would not actually be getting together. Because obviously the countries that you live in, there are also Muslims who live there. But you don't have that level of connection that you have with each other here, and the only reason why you have that connection is because of Fiji. We also share something unique, apart from the fact that faith is there, is that the language in you communicate in is actually very unique to Fiji. You speak in Fiji Hindi. Nowhere else in the world do people speak Fiji Hindi. Until today. In fact, there has been a lot of literature, not a lot, some literature has been written on it, that is, in fact, it is a dying language. It is a language in its own self. It's got its own semantics. It's a linguistic area. So So by you coming to Fiji, you are of course reconnecting with the country of your birth, or reconnecting with the country of your parents, where your parents were born, or great-grandparents were born. But you're also keeping that language also alive, which is also unique, and something perhaps that you should cherish. The other point that I want to make also is that, as somebody mentioned, that the pandemic, of course, put a stop to everything. Nobody expected that in the 21st century that borders would actually shut down. Countries like New Zealand would go into very hard lockdown, moving into hard lockdown in Fiji. Canada, USA, Britain, India, Malaysia, Singapore, Fiji, we all into lockdown. Countries like Fiji, which is very heavily dependent on the services sector, predominantly tourism, whilst we have a growing diversification in our economy, at least 40% of our economy is dependent on the tourism sector. As a result of the border shutting down, we had a job loss of over 110,000 people. The people who were standing there in the corner of the room, the waiters, the waitresses, the chefs, they had no jobs whatsoever. Today, they're all back at work full time. Today, the hotel occupancy is about 95%, 100%. Fiji, however, as a result of the job losses, also lost billions of dollars, both in government revenue and foreign currency and foreign reserves. Your coming here obviously is adding to our foreign reserves getting higher. Your coming here today means our rooms are getting filled up. Your coming here means that Fiji Airways is getting more seats filled. I was told that apparently there's an overbooking from New Zealand, which from one perspective is good, which means you all want to fly Fiji Airways. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, from an economic perspective, as I was sitting here, I was thinking, how many Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, and US dollars would we get after you leave? For us, that is really important. Most of you have done really well. You've become affluent in your own countries where you've chosen to migrate to. Many people, of course, left Fiji, not necessarily because of economic reasons, but because they felt they were marginalized in the country of their birth. They felt that they weren't necessarily treated equally. They felt that there was no sense of justice. And that's why many people have left. Because every time we go overseas, there's so many people who've said to us, we wish things had not changed, we would still be in Fiji. A lot of people say that. And I think I'd like to thank the speaker before me when they acknowledge the fact that it all come back as Fijians. Today we have a liberal economy, a liberal approach to citizenship. Today, if you've lost your Fijian citizenship, you can regain your citizenship. In fact, we allow multiple citizenships. You can hold a Fijian passport, American passport, Canadian passport, New Zealand passport, Australian passport, all simultaneously if you want. No problems. That has meant a lot of people, in fact, have come back. Some people have come back and invested. Some people have come in and built a holiday home so they escape the winter in their countries, enjoy the nice weather. And we'd like to encourage you to do that. Fiji is now very conducive for those types of investments, for those types of opportunities for you to rekindle your connection with Fiji. And we urge you to do that. We've seen recently a sense of many of your descendants or children who were not necessarily born in Fiji, but they still want to come back to Fiji and reconnect. And which is something we encourage. I'd also want to take this opportunity to tap into the intellectual capital and the expertise you have. Because some of you have done really well, some of your children have done well, some of them may be professors, some of them may be doctors, may be nurses, or specialists in different areas. Those skill sets we necessarily may lack in Fiji. We like to tap into that intellectual capital. The past 2 days we've had sessions on what we call knowledge-based economy and how we can grow Fiji into a knowledge-based economy. If any one of us, God forbid, at the moment has a heart attack and you need open heart surgery, there's not a single Fijian doctor that can carry out open heart surgery. Not one. But inshallah, God willing, in a few weeks' time, Lojoka Hospital will be offering that. We will just entered into a public-private partnership with an Australian hospital, where those services will be provided. People don't have to traverse the oceans and go to India or Australia and New Zealand to get open heart surgery. The hospital will also have a new wing where there will be operating theatres that will be built, what we call learning operating theatres, so our Fijian doctors can watch and learn and start doing open heart surgery themselves. Is that ability to build capacity in our people is what we require. So we love to tap into that knowledge, and we want to create new avenues. A lot of people feel very excited to do such or share such knowledge. Today, education is free. I can see most of you over here are over the age of 40. In your days, education was not free. Today, from early childhood all the way to year 13, it's completely free. Textbooks are free. If you come to low-income families, we provide free bus fare. If you want to go to university, you can get scholarships based on merits, based on capability, kabiliyat based. Not who you are, what you look like, who you know, or what school you went to. If you don't get a scholarship, you can get a tertiary education loan. All of that is being provided. Some of you may want to actually help schools too. There's a network of schools where you may want to help them build infrastructure. There's a network of schools where you may want to provide them to get up to more in the digital space. There's numerous opportunities that you can contribute to. Collaborating with what government is doing in terms of its development agenda, in terms of its empowerment agenda. Today we have more females in schools, more females graduating from universities. These are very positive news. I was somewhat taken aback when I was in Vancouver just for about 36 hours, if not less. We took the promotional flight. Now, of course, there will be direct flights from Fiji to Vancouver beginning in the middle of November, the third week of November. And a former Fijian said to me, he said, when my children want to go on a holiday to Hawaii, I just let them go, I feel free. They recently asked me if they could go for a holiday to Fiji. He said, I'm very reticent, I'm very hesitant, because do they still mug people in Fiji? So I said, when did you leave Fiji? He said, about 24 years ago. But things have changed significantly. But I'm sure there are various suburbs that I can go to in Auckland, where if I walk down the street, I can get out to. Various suburbs, I'm sure, in the USA or Australia that I can walk from there. I may not want to walk out the street here in the dark. So I think one of the points I'm trying to make is that Fiji has evolved quite significantly. Please look at the development that's taking place. Please visit the places where families may come from. Please contribute to Fiji in whatever way that you can, because as I said, this is what binds you. And we welcome you with our open arms. Thank you for coming to Fiji. Thank you for being confident. As was highlighted, last year in the month of March, we had about 8,000 to 9,000 cases of COVID. Within a short period of time, because of the decisive actions and decisions made by government, we became the one of the most fastest rated vaccinated countries in the developing world in a short period of time. 94% of our population became vaccinated. And our Prime Minister had said he'll open up the borders by Christmas. We were able to open up our borders by the 1st of December. The challenge that I have for the Canadians in particular and the Americans is, please, the Aussies at the moment are we've got the highest number of visitors from Australia. Second is New Zealand. I would love to see North Americans meet the Aussies. So please, take advantage of direct flights from Vancouver, take advantage of direct flights from LA, which flies every day, take advantage of direct flights from San Francisco. It is with much pleasure we welcome you to Fiji. I'd like to thank again the pioneers of FANCA. They say that there's a Bertrand Russell who's on the English philosopher who I like to read, and he said that a genius with a brilliant idea at the wrong time is considered a madman. a genius with a brilliant idea at the wrong time is considered a madman. But an ordinary person with the right idea at the right time is considered a genius. Sometimes when people have a vision, it may seem very simple, but in hindsight it was actually quite a genius move to do what they did at that point in time. And those founders of this organization had not put their heads together and had not thought about this concept, today we would not be here. And today we would not have seen this particular event grow from strength. So now we're playing to everybody that's participated in this particular event. And I wish you a very good week of sportsmanship, and of course to all the families who are here. It's always good to bring families with you because they help you to spend your money a lot faster too. Thank you. Now.
And high privilege to welcome you all. Next is Zarim Khan, the Vice President of FANCA. Very passionate. Our brother Haji Zabed